corporate customers to interact directly with the banks through automation, from system to system, right? And this is powerful because it makes it possible for customers to integrate and embed banking activities right into their own digitally transformed business operations. Because companies are transforming as well; they are going through that journey. We also reorganized the company in terms of retooling our people in this new digital environment. Right. Aside from retooling them and taking them up more than ever before, we've also reorganized ourselves to be an agile organization. We no longer talk about being, a set of siloed departments, but instead we are a set of cross-functional teams, and we call those tribes and squads, which is why I have that title of tribe lead in my title. Okay. There's something though I'd like to add to that bulb visual, which I just kind of thought about the other day, and I think that bulb needs a socket, and that socket would be our culture. It is our culture of innovation and our shared belief that we had to digitize or perish, that being our rally cry. And it was that culture that truly energized the transformation of Unibank. So, coming back around, how is this digital transformation relevant in these times of crisis, right? It is relevant because the digitally transformed Union Bank was better able to deal with the crisis situation and the challenges it presented to the bank itself in terms of the disruption it created. But more importantly, the bank, through the transformation, had ended up creating just the right types of solutions and products that our customers needed to address the problems they face in this pandemic. So a few examples. In the area of collections, we're seeing our customers use our payment gateway now as they receive collections over their own newly set up websites, right? Because they're all trying to move away and need to move away from being limited to cash and checks for their collections, right? So our payment gateway there has been very successful. Our recently introduced mobile check deposit facility, likewise, is another collection solution which has been very well received, right? And it allows customers to deposit checks right from the convenience of their offices using their mobile phone. So it's a physical check, take a picture, deposit into your account, right? Today we're using electronic payments as individuals more than ever, right? And same goes for corporates who are now using PesoNet and InstaPay to pay their suppliers, right? Government agencies like the SSS and the DSWD are using electronic payments facilities of the bank to distribute loans, proceeds, and ayuda. And even LGUs are using our digital facilities as well to collect fees and taxes in order to reduce face-to-face transactions. Even the government offices are going in this direction already. So the crisis is also having some long-term effects in the way it's changing the way businesses operate. And there's one thing I want to get into a little bit. This is part of the new normal, all these changes. And one of these changes is the shift of our customers into platforms. So as we work and study from home, we are all using platforms when we use Lazada to do our shopping instead of going to the mall. When we book a Grab rider to make a delivery that we would do ourselves, or for example, order from Foodpanda, right, instead of going to the restaurant. So similarly, corporates are moving their own operations to platforms, right? And examples of this are things like procurement, right, or logistics, where they book shipments for their goods, and for managing distribution of their products, for example, by building payments right in and making banking embedded in those platforms. Now, platforms feature technologies such as blockchain and AI that not only improve the efficiency of the supply chain, but also provide new insights on how banks can better serve that community. That's a super important point. Now, this subject of platforms is really quite interesting. I get quite excited to talk about it, but perhaps that's That's a whole other thing we can perhaps take up in another session. But suffice it to say that we are very much involved in building these platforms. We see this as the way of the future. We have many executions. This participation we're having in building these platforms with its customers is just another example of how Union Bank works with its customers to provide and solve real world business problems. We do like to co-create with our customers. We often host brainstorming sessions and design thinking workshops. We might use cloud services to host our services, our infrastructure, but your head can't be in the clouds when you're trying to solve real problems. The principle here is simple. In order to create real solutions to real problems, you got to involve those on the ground, and you got to get in there with them. You got to deal with those who experience the issues firsthand, right? Here's a bunch of imagery here which tells a story, a long-running story that we have of collaborating and co-creating with customers, where we go out and we talk to retailers, we meet with customers in their offices to understand their processes, we go out and meet co-ops. It's a very key part of our culture as well. We believe that this spirit of co-creation differentiates Union Bank. And that again goes back to our culture, one of experimentation and learning. Nowadays, you have to have that kind of attitude if you want to create truly new, delightful, and superior experiences for your customers. It is what we call first principles thinking. Basically, you have to be ready to throw out everything, well, that you thought you knew, right? And be ready to build from the ground up. That has to be done, though, together with the people on the ground. And the proof that this kind of approach works can be, we've seen it through the recognitions and awards that we have received. There's a whole bunch of awards here displayed, and these are just some that we've received in the last couple of years or so, in the last year or so actually. Right? So perhaps other than the rather prestigious Global Banking Finance Review Awards in the upper left corner, has awarded us 2 years running as Best Innovative Cash Management Solutions and Best Cash Management Bank 2019-2020 respectively. There's another that is particularly moving for me actually, and it's the one on the bottom right, and it recognizes Union Bank as, quote, one of the most helpful banks in Asia Pacific during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that's such a powerful realization when you realize that people are recognizing the values and the help that banks are able to provide to their communities. Right? We actually did very well in this regional award. We placed top bank overall across the region, and we were the only Philippine bank in the top 20. Okay, so now getting around finally to the portal. Oh, running a little long. I'll just come right out and say it, and make the claim that the portal is the leading banking solution for corporates in the Philippines. I know it's a bold claim, but I think it's one we can make confidently, because what we have is a single platform where corporates of all sizes, from small startups to large corporations, can get access to a broad range of banking services. The portal is the centerpiece of our digital engagement. We had a vision in mind when we built the portal. We had very clear ideas of what we wanted to imbue in the system. We were guided by the principles of having a single integrated platform. We wanted all roads to lead to the portal. This is how the portal goes beyond the usual definition of what an online banking platform for corporates would be. I'll give you some examples of that later on. Superior UX, user experience, is super important to us. And the only thing I want to mention about that is that it's so important to us that we actually built the portal ourselves. Normally, or often, banks would use a vendor-provided framework, they call it, to build out your online banking. But this simply was not the way we wanted to go, and we ended up building our own solution. That's how important it is to us. Another one is adaptability, right? And we designed the system to be much more flexible in that we're able to do releases monthly, and we continue to do that. Right? And of course, we do all of this by remaining secure, not just through the powerful controls built into the portal, but also from a cybersecurity perspective, the world-class leading type of cybersecurity perimeter defenses we have set up to protect us in this very challenging days, as we're all aware of all the scams that are happening out there. Okay, so let me finish off here by kind of just touching on why we say the portal is a one-stop shop for corporate banking. So I don't see the visual. I don't know. Maybe Mara's having a hard time sharing. There you go. There's the screen. So this is a kind of a map, because it actually is a map. We call it the journey map, and it represents how a customer might begin to experience the portal, and then eventually experience through the portal other banking services. It starts with, of course, the enrollment process, which we have designed from the ground up to be self-enrollment. It then can move to other things, like in the context of a pandemic still, bills still need to be paid, right? So we have very powerful capabilities for making payments, and we have a longest list of bidders perhaps in the industry. You got to pay taxes. We have complete facilities for government payments and government taxes. Payroll, you can actually open accounts for your employees right within the portal itself, doing away with that traditionally back and forth paperwork intensive process of getting accounts open for your employees, right? And of course, electronic transfers is is extremely important. You know, even now, as some sense of normality coming back with our corporate customers, there's a lot of payments and backlog to be made. So the electronic payments is by far the most efficient way to do that, and we're seeing massive use of that. And as a new normal sets in, of course, checks will come back into the picture. Check writer is part of portal as well. You can do all your check cutting instructions within the portal. And similarly, there is also the permanent adoption, we believe, of the payment gateway, which I mentioned earlier, right? Again, a lot of information about what's going on in our customers' use of the merchant payment gateway is available in the portal. And finally, my very last point there, and I'll wrap up after this, is in terms of financial supply chain. Financial supply chain relates again to those platforms I was talking about, wherein communities where businesses are moving their communities and partners onto online platforms, and they run their operations over there. And this gives a opportunity now for the bank to participate in finding new ways to offer things like financing for those communities, especially coming out of a crisis situation, and hopefully a return to normalcy. People will need to seek financing to stabilize and grow their operations once again. So Michelle, I'm going to end my presentation right there. Sorry I went over time. I hope I was able to tell the story of how the bank's transformation led us to having the right solutions for our corporate customers as we face all the many challenges of this pandemic together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Mon.